The days are longer, the calendar is filling up, and I want to feel as good as this beautiful summer weather. That's why I've been loving Groons. It's one daily pack of gummies that covers my greens, vitamins, and minerals, and even has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber. So I don't need to juggle a complicated wellness routine on top of everything else. They taste amazing. They're easy to toss in my bag on the go. Plus, they're vegan, gluten-free, and HSA, FSA eligible for reimbursement. Save up to 52% off with promo code podcast at gruns.co. That's code podcast at gruns.co.
From the kids to Aunt Sue, keep your whole family connected on all their devices with crowd-pleasing gig-speed internet from Xfinity. Now that's simple, easy, awesome. Go online, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit today. Restrictions apply. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed.
Welcome back to TalkNorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. I'm living like Michael Russo. I'm wandering around a golf course on Long Island, just looking at the beautiful trees, contemplating my future. It's a cool, Michael, I'm sure that there are a lot of people who don't travel as much as we do who think of Long Island as like this suburb of New York that probably looks like New York. I mean, you could be in the middle of Canada or something. It's just, you're walking around this huge state park. It's beautiful. You don't see any houses. You don't see any buildings or skyscrapers. I tell you what, I love Bethpage Black. I love being on Long Island right now.
Well, that's my hometown. That's why you like it. You feel comfortable there.
I do.
All my people.
Of course, you don't feel comfortable anywhere, so I'm not sure that makes a lot of sense.
No, that's a good point. What do you think so far of the tournament?
I'm hoping somebody gives Koepka a run just to make it interesting. But
he's a hockey guy.
He is a hockey guy.
So maybe
and he's a tough guy, and he's a weightlifter. But I'm serious. I love Bethpage Black. I love the fact that major championships are now being played at municipal golf courses. I love the fact that it's big and it's beautiful, and you're out in the middle of the course. You don't see anything other than trees and golf course. It's like and what I love about it is a beautiful, beautiful course and a very difficult course, but it doesn't feel like a starch shirt kind of country club. It feels like a place, because it is, that anybody can play.
Yeah, no doubt. It's funny, I ran into, or I got together last night with our mutual friend Drew McCain. I remember the old amateur turned pro. He's got his Q card on the Canadian Tour, so he leaves this week for Vancouver. Great. So I got together with him at his home course, Delwood, which I didn't realize how many courses in the Twin Cities right now are absolutely just shut down because of the winter kill and just how awful our winter was. And Delwood was absolutely gorgeous yesterday. Good luck to Drew, who leaves for Vancouver this weekend to begin his Canadian tour. He goes, I think, 13 different tournaments this summer.
Hey, and Brooks Koepka played on every tour around the world trying to get to the PGA. It can happen. There are great success stories out here that start just like Andrew's. So good luck to Andrew. Hey, thanks to our sponsors, Twill in the Edina Galleria, Tin Shed in Savage, FixologyRepair.com, and Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent. And by the way, our next live show next Wednesday night, Wednesday, 6:00. We're going to try to make this a
6:15.
6:15 at Tin Shed in Savage. Follow Tin Shed and Savage on Twitter. They have a new Twitter account, Tin Shed Savage, just like it sounds. You'll always be able to get updates on times and specials, all that kind of stuff. Check that out. But we're gonna experiment with the time. We're gonna try 6:15 next week. If that's a difficult time for people, we'll probably move it around. But we do want to get all of our regulars to be coming out to Tin Shed Savage. Just because we love doing the live shows, we love seeing people. So thank you to them for doing that. Charlie Coyle.
Yeah, and the other thing is we're going to be doing the owner of Tin Sheds is a wild season ticket holder, so he's going to be doing monthly ticket giveaways during the hockey season. But the key to that is you got to be at the live shows. One, to sign up for the drawing, and two, if we pull your name to win tickets to a wild game, you must be there to collect. So if you are a Russo-Souhan show listener, and we have tons out there, it's amazing how many people come up to me and say that they love the show. It'd be cool to see you come out to one of these live shows, and maybe you get lucky and win some wild tickets.
Absolutely. This should be a lot of fun. So Charlie Coyle is moving on.
Yeah, I mean, one of Charlie Coyle, Neater writer was, and it really is amazing the way the Carolina Hurricanes just went belly up in this series, and they really didn't play well the entire series. Their power play was absolutely atrocious. Their power play was atrocious pretty much the entire playoffs. And now Charlie Coyle moves on. He's playing great. That is a great team. They look primed to go on a run here. The key question is now they're going to have 10 or 11 days off, depending on how far the San Jose-St. Louis series goes. So now do they, what happens to them? Do they get rusty? How do they sink their teeth into the Stanley Cup final? But Boston goes to their third Cup final in the last 8 or 9 years. And they are a deep juggernaut right now. And the key to them is they're getting incredible goaltending from Tuukka Rask. He's been absolutely on fire, playing absolutely the best hockey of his career. And they look primed and ready to go on a potential cup run. And the second Tampa Bay Lightning were upset by the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round. The Boston Bruins became the favorite to come out of the East, and they've absolutely lived up to those expectations so far.
Tell me about the hand pass and what it might mean for replay in the NHL.
Yeah, it's funny. I was listening to Coyle Campbell, who's been one of he's the senior vice president of hockey operations to the NHL, and I was listening to him on Sirius XM yesterday, and there's absolutely an appetite now to expand video review in the NHL. There's just been, this game has been too fast, and there are two issues here. One, the state of officiating in the league. I mean, these are veteran referees that are making mistakes. I mean, the mistake in San Jose with the major penalty, where Vegas essentially got eliminated from the playoffs because of an atrocious call by two referees, one being a veteran guy and Dan O'Halloran. This is one of the best referees in the NHL, and for him to make that mistake, it's absurd that 2 million people get to see instantaneously if these refs make a mistake, and the two referees and the two linesmen, the only 4 people in the world that matter, are not allowed to look at the replay. It's absolutely stupid. And I think it's doubly stupid, fans that think that they shouldn't expand video review. I mean, fans go crazy when these mistakes are made, and yet they're the ones that are tweeting me like, oh, no, we can't slow the game down. We can't have more video review. Well, this is a fast game, and great referees are making egregious errors on the ice. It's been all throughout this postseason. I think one big problem, though, is that this league has continually retired great refs that are still in the prime of their careers in the last several years to put a lot of these newbies in there, and they're not ready for the big show. That's not excusing Dan O'Halloran and Dan O'Rourke and Mark Joannette for making some huge mistakes, but there is clearly an appetite with video review and expanding it. Now, the question is, how far can you go? Now, the hand pass, that is one where you expect, that is not one where you normally would expect that you would even think that you need, in overtime, a direct puck off the glove to Erik Karlsson to end the game. That puts a team now in a real precarious position where they got to win 4 or 5 games to go to the Stanley Cup final. You don't even think of that as being added to video review. So the question is, how far can you take it? Bruce Boudreau is on the competition committee. I talked to him the other day. He's going to meet on June 11th in Toronto with Mike Babcock, 4 players, Bill Daly, Coyle Campbell, and Gary Bettman. And the things that he was going to bring up, and what's really coincidental about this is that I met with him the day that this happened. And this is something that he would have never thought of, but the 4 circumstances that he thinks that video review should be expanded is puck over the glass, these situations where the 4 referees, the 4 officials get together and they're, clearly debating, and they're the only ones that can't look at the replay, and now you're just praying that they get it right and not wrong. So that one. Whether or not a high stick is either a friendly fire, your own team, or an opponent. Puck off the netting that goes into that's immediately shot in the goal. or these situations where you don't know if it should be a major penalty or not. So in other words, the Charlie McAvoy hit on Josh Anderson, which absolutely should have been a match penalty. It wasn't called that way because the referees couldn't take a second look. Or the play where Cody Aiken, where Joe Pavelski unfortunately got hurt, but it should not have even been a penalty, let alone a major, that put Vegas in a position where late in a game they even had to kill a major penalty. And again, I'm all for the fact that they shouldn't have given up 4 power play goals. But the reality is, with 100% certainty, if that incorrect call wasn't made, Vegas would have gone into the second round of the playoffs, not the San Jose Sharks. So there's a lot to unpack here. But listen to Coley Campbell yesterday. This is going to be a huge topic at the next GM's meetings at the draft. And if it doesn't happen at the draft, it's going to be this summer. But Coley Campbell made it extremely clear that come next season, that in some fashion, video review will be expanded in the NHL, and I think it absolutely should be.
This is the Russo-Souhan Show, part of the TalkNorth.com podcast network. Check out all the shows. Subscribe at your favorite podcast app or on iTunes. We appreciate all the support. Also appreciate Twill in the Dining Galleria. Michael had information that a high-ranking Wild executive was shopping in Twill the other day.
Oh, yeah? Nice. Divulge your source.
TwillMN.com.
Jim usually doesn't like to shop for clothes. I don't like it when he shops for clothes either, because he used to buy stuff I'd want to throw out. That's why I'm so glad he's found Twill in the Edina Galleria. He likes shopping there because of the comfortable environment and the friendly staff. He finds clothes that actually fit him properly and are high-quality brands that will look great for years, whether he's golfing or working. Our favorites so far are Peter Millar, Johnny O, and Barber. We spend our money at Twill because we love the clothes and we love the no-pressure shopping. Drop by Twill in the Edina Galleria for the best shopping experience and best clothes you'll find in the Twin Cities.
All right, let's bust through some Twitter questions unless something else you want to get to first, Michael.
No, let's go through it.
North Stars Fans for Life asks, are the Wild really fixable in one season? What's a realistic expectation? Is Boston going to win the Stanley Cup?
Well, I mean, a couple of questions. That's usually how I ask questions in a press conference.
Yeah.
Like 4 questions in. Boston, yeah, I mean, again, I think the key to them is going to be whether or not they absolutely get all rusty here in the next 10 days. You know, what is Bruce Cassidy going to do to simulate hockey? Because this is going to be a huge layoff for them. If St. Louis Blues win tonight, this is going to be an absolutely long layoff for the Boston Bruins. If they even this series, it could be as much as 10 or 11 days off. In terms of is this fixable in one season, I don't see how. I mean, this team is not even close. I question who's going to get the pucks to goal scorers. I question who's going to go score those goals. I question on this team now with guys like Niederreiter and Coyle gone, who besides Zach Parise is going to the net. I am very concerned about the way that Ryan Donato played the last 10 to 12 games of the season and his entire Iowa postseason run. He was not good at all. And so there's just a lot of issues here that suddenly Paul Fenton's going to have to address this summer. And again, you have full roster spots. I mean, they have 11 or 12 forwards on one-way contracts. So we could, again, as I've said over and over again, we could talk about all this cap space they have, but they can't just go out and get free agents because you need places for them to play. So this is going to be an interesting offseason, and I think that's where it comes down to trades. And right now, you know, as Jim wrote in the strip the other day, there's not a lot of reason to be optimistic because none of the trades that he's made really so far have been very good ones. You know, even now you look back at the Ryan Donato Charlie Coyle trade and the fact that draft pick, as I said at the time, does not escalate per series round. It's crazy. They you know, again, it's another one. You're trading you know, again, and Ryan Donato might be a very good player for this team for a long time. But you're trading a known quantity for an unknown quantity, and you barely get another asset for it. And you know that you are trading the known quantity to make that team a true Stanley Cup contending team. And yet the fact that he wasn't able to get another player from the Boston Bruins, and the fact that that draft pick doesn't continue to escalate with every playoff round win, I think was a big swing and miss by Paul. And then you add in the known thing that I've reported a dozen times now, that they could have gotten Sean Corrali and a first-round pick for Eric Stahl, and he didn't do that. It shows you that there were other assets available for Coyle a week before the trade deadline. So I just think that right now, when you're expecting him to make significant trades, and there's not a lot of trade assets left on this team because he traded Niederreiter, Coyle, and Granlund, it's a big concern. So obviously, Jason Zucker is the big piece right now. Where is he going? He's probably being offered to everybody in the league. What can you get for him? He's got to figure out a way to get a huge return, in my opinion, for Zuck if he's going to trade him. And then you got to make other decisions. If say they want to sign Brock Nelson or Joe Pavelski in free agency, or an Anders Lee or somebody, do you trade a Joel Eriksson Ek, and what can you get for him? If you trade Jonas Brodin, how are you replacing him? So there's a lot of question marks here. But if you look at the team, I don't see who besides those three guys are potentially being moved here, unless they're moving Jared, which they do not want to do. They want to re-sign him. The question is, again, if you look at your top 9 or even 12 forwards, we could talk about all the free agents that they want to go after, but you need roles for them to play. You need spots in the lineup for them to play. And if Anders Lee and Brock Nelson and all these guys are looking at the roster come July 1 and there haven't been trades made, they're not going to sign here. It's that simple. They're going to need to see where they're going to play in the lineup. And they're also going to, guys like Anders Lee and all those guys are going to want to know who's getting me the puck. So there's a lot of things here, and I don't know how that can all be done in one offseason.
Agreed, man. Agreed. It's a little sad.
Remember, the Wild were last place in the Central Division.
Right.
They have a lot, and trust me, Chicago's going to make some big noise this offseason, and they still got the core that they could build around. You're still contending against a Colorado team that just added a Hobie Baker winner and is about to get the 4th overall pick in the draft. And they've got some money to spend this offseason. You're dealing with a St. Louis Blues team who's 3 wins from the Stanley Cup final. You're dealing with Winnipeg right now, who we know are loaded with superstars. And we have a Nashville team that's going to make some big, significant moves this offseason. So, and not to mention Dallas as well. So to expect that the Wild are going to suddenly, with the current lineup that got shut out 11 times this year, all of a sudden magically be fixed in an offseason, I think the Wild are in for a rude awakening if they think that. I think they've got to be realistic and come out with a long-term plan here.
Our friend John Hedges, who runs Fixology Repair, usually uses light rail to come to the live shows. We don't have light rail to Savage yet. Somebody's going to need to give him a ride. Coordinate with John Hedges, get him there. Also check out fixologyrepair.com. Locations in Minneapolis, downtown of the Skyway, 3rd floor of the Mall of America by Nordstrom's, and soon in downtown St. Paul.
There are some things in life that you just can't live without. Now, whether it's a special piece of jewelry, a watch, or even your smartphone, you want it in working condition. At Fixology Repair, we are committed to restoring your pieces so that everything works or fits the way it ought to. Watch servicing, chain repair, and broken screen replacements are just a few of the services that we offer at our 2 locations, Mall of America and the Skyway in downtown Minneapolis. Please visit us at fixologyrepair.com or at fixologymn on Twitter to learn more. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount on our services.
On Twitter,
John Hedges actually, Jim, he definitely can't come to the first show. He sent me a text that I was absolutely jealous of yesterday of him in an Irish bar in Dublin. So,
good for him.
Yeah, he's on vacation with his lovely wife, and I'm absolutely jealous. In fact, I should send him a text. So I've told the story before, right? Where last summer I was cleaning my condo, getting it ready for a showing, and at that exact moment, Paul Fenton called me, and I opened up this cabinet, and this incredible bottle of Bushmills that I bought in Northern Ireland 2 years ago smashed on my tile floor of my kitchen.
I remember that.
And so while I'm interviewing Paul during this call that lasted probably 25 minutes, I am just getting essentially drunk off the fumes of this whiskey. and the whole time I'm on the phone with Paul, I like a couple times jokingly told him about it. I'm like, one, I'm getting drunk right now, so excuse the tone of the questions. But 2, I'm starting to worry about when the showing happens later, how I'm gonna get, they're gonna walk into the just scent of whiskey into my house. So honestly, first of all, it took me 2 hours to clean it up. Then I had to essentially get this whiskey smell out of there. Not to mention, I don't think I have to tell you that whoever looked at my place that day didn't buy it.
Well, I'm Irish, so the smell of whiskey would actually force me to buy your place.
So what I wonder if John heads up to Bushmills Distillery, I got to get him to buy me this bottle. It's the color of it's the bottle that I love, not so much as the whiskey. Like I was never probably going to drink it because I just absolutely love the bottle, and it's only one that you could buy there.
On Twitter from Oil Redemption, what do you think Mikko Koivu's plan is after this coming year? They should trade him to a contender and start the rebuild.
Start the rebuild. I mean, they're in a rebuild. Don't worry. Like whether the Wild want to advertise they're in a rebuild or not, they are rebuilding the team. They traded 3 core guys off their team, and and they're gonna trade their probably 4th core 26-year-old off the team this summer. So they're in a rebuild. Whether or not you think that a rebuild is defined by getting rid of Koivu, Stahl, Parise, and Suter, that's besides the point. They're in an absolute rebuild situation here. Now maybe they can accelerate the rebuild. That's the hope that definitely Paul Fenton and Craig Leopold hope. To get back to Koivu, what's his plans after this year? I mean, there's just zero chance the Wild are going to resign him past this season. I can't imagine any situation where they do. And so the question, he's absolutely going to come back. He's 27 games from 1,000. He's going to be stubborn and try to get himself on the ice and that's probably the wrong term, but Mikko, he's going to work his ass off this summer to get himself ready for opening night. But you're right. If the Wild are out of a postseason spot come trade deadline time or the month before the trade deadline, and Mikko is still a very serviceable player in the NHL, I think any team in the league that's a playoff contender will try to trade for him from Paul Fenton. So that's the plan. But he will be on this team starting next season.
Cameron D. Myers asks, have you heard of a couple names the Wild are keen on in the draft?
I know. I mean, it's funny. I think Patrick Gage asked last week about whether or not the Wild would draft for need or just best player available. And Paul Fenton told me in Iowa that it will always be best player available unless there was 100% certain. Like when the example that Paul Fenton always gives is Ryan Suter in 2003. He says that's the only time in his career that he really drafted for need because they absolutely needed. Did I say 2003? Yeah, 2003. Sorry. The Nashville Predators needed a top flight defenseman. And so that's the only time in his career he's done it. But he said that unless there's a no-brainer pick, they're going to go best player available on their specific list. And I have heard that they, a couple of the defensemen in that area they do like, and I do think that they like Spencer Knight, the goaltender as well. And I would think if Spencer Knight is next on their list, they would take him. Paul Fenton has always said that those picks in a couple of years, especially a goaltender, they're going to need time to develop, and maybe eventually you either need them or you use them as a piece to go get a position of need. So, in terms of names, I'm sure they love the guy Caulfield. I think they love a couple of those centers on the U.S. national team, a couple of defensemen there. But that's pretty much what I'm hearing right now. In terms of their list, I'm sure it's all over the map right now. The amateur scouts met last week, and I think Paul Fenton, PJ Fenton, and Darren Yapek, who the 3 people that are running the draft, will continue to refine that list through the draft combine in a week and a half in Buffalo.
Thanks to our friend Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent. He works out of Champlin, Hoaglund. He handles my insurance and Michael's insurance.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoaglund. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been number 1 in car insurance since World War II and number 1 in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
Joe Rogers on Twitter, the way the Wild are constructed, there will need to be a couple trades to fit in any additions via UFA. Any words on teams Fenton has been talking to about trades leading up to the draft?
Yeah, no, and that is just what I've been trying to say.
Right.
Only you probably said it in a much more succinct, easier to understand way than I've been saying it. But that's exactly what your question is. What they got to do. There's just no way to go after UFAs unless they clear roster spots in trades at the draft. And maybe those trades, or hopefully those trades, especially if you're moving guys like Zucker, are actually getting younger, better players that you don't even need to go after the older veterans in free agency to begin with, which we always know is a risk when you're getting guys 29, 30 and you're signing them to long-term deals. In terms of teams that the Wild are talking to, I haven't heard anything specifically. In fact, I talked to 3 different GMs or assistant GMs this week that said that they haven't heard from the Wild yet on anything. So, look, this is the time of year where Paul Fenton just met with his pro scouts last week. And what you do there is you're pretty much going through exercises to figure out the type of players that you should go after. And then you begin those conversations, and a lot of these GMs will be together at the draft combine. So I don't think that it's anything, nerve. I don't think there's. And the other thing is Paul Fenton's headed to Slovakia for the World Championships, and a lot of GMs are there. So a lot of these conversations will happen in person at the draft combine or at the World Championships, and then all of a sudden you start planting the seed come draft time. But, as I've speculated, I think that if Paul Fenton is smart, that he would go after some of the teams that have cap situations, Toronto, Tampa Bay, teams like that, to try to make moves. And because you got to look at those teams as being a little bit desperate, that they might have to get rid of some pretty good players.
Reminder, we'll be at Tin Shed Tavern in Savage, 6:15 on Wednesday night. Come out and check us out, meet the owner, maybe win some Wild tickets. We'll have a lot of fun. From Michael Amundsen on Twitter.
And by the way, just something that popped in my head. We were, Jim, Brandon, and I, we were talking before the show. If you have suggestions on maybe a time or days that work for you, we'd love to hear that, because obviously we want people to come down to Savage. We understand that, especially those in the north or the eastern or western burbs, it's a bit of a drive at a tough time of day. So, if we were thinking maybe we talk to the owner about pushing the time back, maybe it's 7:15. Would that be easier? Feel free to tweet us or email us and give us an idea of what would work best for you, and we'll figure it out.
Good. From Michael Amundsen on Twitter, the Bruins seem to have a championship culture. Usually that's evident throughout the organization, but the Wild have more work to do besides improving the on-ice talent.
Yeah, there's culture issues here. I think that's simple when you see guys go other places continually and succeed. So, look, that's something that Paul Fenton has identified. Trust me, and he's going to try to fix. This is, they're well aware that there's issues here that need to be changed. I think he's tried to start that process this offseason, but it's not something that just magically happens overnight. But it is funny because it's all about winning and losing. Remember at the beginning of this year when the Wild were winning, or maybe even last year, we're talking about how great the room is, how it's fun to be. I mean, it's all about winning. But that Boston team, trust me, there's issues in that San Jose room. But guys like Joe Pavelski and Logan Couture and Joe Thornton, they keep that room together. You need strong leadership, and the Wild's room has been fractured in many different ways for a long, long time. And you look at that Boston room, and guys like Bergeron and Chara, Krejci, these guys are true leaders. And you see it in Carolina, Justin Williams, although he lost his mind. Brad Marchand got in his head, no doubt, in this series. That stuff is important. So I do think it's beyond on-ice talent. There's no doubt about it.
From Harold Johnson, do you see the Avs moving one of their firsts, possibly for a top 4 D-man?
Yeah, I think so. Although I think their blue line is so much better than it's been in the past. I mean, Girard's going to be a player. I don't think he'll ever be Jared Spurgeon. Tyson Berry's, he is one buddy. I would think that the Avalanche would be more likely this offseason than trading that 4th overall pick. I think they'd be more likely to maybe move a guy like Tyson Berry. But Berry had a good year. Johnson looks good this year. And obviously you just add a Hobie Baker winner. So this team's on the rise. And suddenly you look at this Colorado Avalanche team as, maybe the most important thing for them to do, especially now that they got Grubauer, is to figure out, what they're going to do in terms of deepening their upfront issues. It turned out to be a one-trick pony, and when all of a sudden McKinnon couldn't score, they were in deep, deep trouble in the series against San Jose. So I think that might actually be more of a need right now because it does seem to me that their blue line is much, much better. Obviously, Varlamov is probably going to be on his way out as well. So we'll see. I mean, that is another issue that we haven't written a lot about lately, just because I think it's very hard to move Devin Dubnyk, especially with his no trade. But I think if the Wild could upgrade their goaltending, I think it's something that Paul Fenton would love to do. I don't think he'd ever voice that publicly because especially you never want to get into the head of your goaltender. But I do think that I could tell you that that there's a lot of goalies out there suddenly that could be on the move this summer. I'm not saying Bobrovsky. I mean, I think he's pretty much postmarked for Florida, but there are decent goalies out there, and so obviously if the Wild are going to upgrade in that position, they're going to have to figure out how to move Devin Dubnyk at some point.
We're going to keep the show tight because we're going to do a longer show when we do it live the next 2 Wednesdays at Tin Shed and Savage. So we're going to do one more Twitter question and a final thought, if Michael has one, or a final groan, whatever he prefers, from Liam C. Do you think that Fenton would prefer the team to lose out while giving young players experience this year and then pursue bigger free agents for 2021 season? The free agent crop this year seems thin. Nelson Lee probably going to be overpaid. What do you think?
No, because then he could be out next summer. I mean, honestly, if this team doesn't make substantial improvements this year, I think Paul is on the hot seat. That's just my personal opinion. So I don't think he's in any position where he's going to want this team to lose out next season. The edict is 100% given by the owner that he wants his team to be a playoff contender next year, and I think he's going to want to see that they're on the path to doing that again, because there have been some red flags this season with some of the moves that have been made, and again, for a team that everybody thought was a tweak away from improving, this team has been absolutely overhauled, and I genuinely feel that next season could be tough. So this is a huge 6 weeks for Paul. I mean, he's got to show that he can appreciably make this team better. If he strikes out royally in free agency and trades, this could be an interesting season coming up.
Well, that sounds like a final thought. We will see you at the Tin Shed in Savage next Wednesday night, 6:15. Come on down and let's just have a blast with it. We always love seeing our fans, our listeners, Michael's fans, our listeners at the live shows. Thanks to Michael. Thanks to Brandon Morton. And we'll talk to you next week.
It's going to be so exciting to see Brandon again. I feel like I haven't seen him in years.
The amazing thing is he went with a mohawk haircut.
Very cool.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world won't forgive a winner.
Holiday tips and fun facts from Paul, Kristen, and Dexter at Total Wine & More.
The custom of bumping glasses with the cheers came from old Rome. When in Rome, cheers!
A pork crown roast with cranberry stuffing deserves a ripe, fruit-forward Cabernet from Paso Robles. Let me help you find the perfect bottle.
Looking for the right wine for a meaningful gift? Consider me your wine concierge.
Whether you're entertaining or just bringing the wine, we'd love to share our always low prices and ridiculous selection with you this holiday. Now offering same-day delivery at TotalWine.com. Cheers!
From the kids to Aunt Sue. Keep your whole family connected on all their devices with crowd-pleasing gig speed internet from Xfinity. Now that's simple, easy, awesome. Learn more about gig speed internet or other popular plans, now with even more speed. Enjoy faster downloads and a better streaming experience today. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit an Xfinity store for a great offer. Restrictions apply. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed.